Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Go.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Etims podcast, the very first one of 2015. We eventually made it. Tonight we have Ralph Mouth.
Hello, how you doing?
Good evening, Ralph. Thanks for joining. And we also have Hector Bandido. Good evening, Hector.
Good evening, everyone.
I am Desmond, and Hector has graciously invited along a very special guest tonight. Hector, would you like to give introductions to our special guest, please?
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this for such a long time, Desi. Well, tonight we have the one and only Celtic fan chief, Mr. Eddie, East End of Glasgow Toner. Welcome, Eddie.
I see he's still trying to stick that title fans chief on me. I tell him earlier, I'm leaving the chief in my own house.
So welcome, Eddie. Thanks very much for joining. We are, of course, here to talk about all things Celtic, and we normally start these chats off with Ralph and the big topics of the day. Ralph, how have you been watching the election currently? Is David Cameron getting as much good coverage down in Stoke as he is getting up here in Glasgow?
It's not so much Cameron. You know that Tristan Hunt, who's...
Hunt?
Believe it or not, that's his name. It's not rhyming slang. And he's a local MP for the Centre of Stoke-on-Trent. He was on Question Time a couple of weeks back, talking about this big fire at a mosque, which never happened, and now he's out helping everybody. I can't wait till he comes to my door. I really can't wait. The big issue of the day, of course, is what's happened to Josh Meekins, who made a fantastic save against Celtic on Sunday and cost me thousands of pounds, which I'm not bitter about at all, and you probably wouldn't even pick that up reading the diary. The referees and the SFA have admitted to yet another honest mistake. Where have we heard that before?
So Josh Meekins, could he be the new goalkeeping replacement for Zaluska, do you think, come the close season?
Well, his reflexes are fantastic. As soon as he sees it coming towards the goal, he's there, he stops it. And not only that, he manages to get away with it. I can't believe it. It's like... Let's go back 10 years till that other club was still here.
Good. That's a good point.
I thought when they went away, all this would go away, but obviously.
Hector, I'll come to you in a second, but EddieToner, was it the same old for you watching the game at the weekend?
Oh, absolutely. I was at the game and I couldn't have been any further away for the incident. I was right up at the back of the Celtic end, about 4 rows for the very back. And I don't have the best eyesight in the world, but I seen it was a clear handball. And I mean, I says the other night, I didn't really get involved in the debate in this on social media or anything like that, but I waited to sort of fairly late on Monday night before I says anything. And having read,
I think we've lost Eddie there.
Dress this up I don't think you can dress it up any other way than... For me, this was just blatant cheating. Just blatant cheating. There is no way in God's earth that 3 officials or 4 officials missed that handball. Just impossible for where they were standing. So for me, it couldn't have been anything else other than just a blatant attempt to deny us a penalty kick that would probably send the Inverness guy off and probably have just put us right in the final. Cheating, end of story as far as I was concerned.
Hector, are you a member of the honest mistake brigade, or are you siding with Eddie on this one?
Well, the thing is, people do make honest mistakes, but what happened on Sunday just wasn't. I had to laugh. Who was the guy who's the referee supervisor? Is it Fleming? A guy called Fleming. He came out and said that no one appealed, and even it was only those watching the TV who appealed the decision. But at the time when it happened, half the Celtic team jumped up. The Celtic fans in the North Stand jumped up and appealed. So it was a complete nonsense. McLean had a great view of it. The guy behind the goal's 5 yards away. You've got the far side linesman, or the near side linesman, should I say. There's 3 of them could easily have seen that. And it wasn't a rocket shot. It was just a header that went across. So it wasn't even at fast pace. So I'm completely with Eddie here. I think I tweeted that at the time. I think I agreed with Eddie. It was blatant cheating. It was just blatant cheating, and there's nothing else about it. 3 officials, one can get it wrong, but 3 of them to all get it wrong, and it's such an easy decision to make. Nah, it's no incompetence, it's cheating.
Right, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Is it just me, or was Celtic actually ranked rotten in respect to you're 1-0 up against a counter-attacking team? Celtic looked knackered for the start. Why would you send 8 guys up for a corner?
I agree with what you say about the sending 8 guys up, but we were pretty much in control in the first half. It wasn't... Nothing looked like it was running away from us. At the incident, when he saved it, I was still comfortable. I went through to the other room. I was watching on the telly, because when you cancel Sky, you get an extra month because of your contract. So I've still got it, but it's gone. And a couple of the guys that were at the game, that were sitting behind the goal at the other end, they sent me text saying, was that what I thought it was? So I sent them the video of it, and the response was, oh, that's blatant, that's terrible. But as I was watching it, I thought to myself, we're still in control here, it'll not make any difference. But then when Craig Gordon gets sent off, and I don't think enough's been made of that, the guy got his shot away. And if you notice, one of the replies in the diary was one of the guys was at a meeting with Donald McVicker, and the same thing happened with Henrik Larsson when he was going through against Dundee. He got fouled, but he did get his shot away, and the point of that meeting was he shouldn't have been sent off. I think Celtic's chasing the wrong thing here. There's a number of things happened in that game. Not only Gordon, not only Meekings. There was a penalty with Forrest, the penalty claim with Cummins. All denied. It's like they get an instruction beforehand. We don't let them win. I honestly thought all that was done with years back, but it's not anymore. It's still there. It's not even a pro Rangers thing because they don't exist. It's more an anti-Celtic thing.
And Hector, do you think it's a purely coincidence the same referee seems to be in charge when Celtic don't do well? And I don't want to make this into it's purely the referee, but that's why I'm asking the question. Is it this incompetence across the board?
I don't think it is incompetence. I've made that clear. I think some angry tweets on Sunday, to me it was cheating. It showed you the various angles after the event, and even the referee's unit's own was crystal clear. He should have called that as a penalty and a red card. But the guy McLean's got an interesting track record. His background in terms of games he's done with us this season, decisions against us, the fact he's a season ticket at Ibrox. There's a lot of things and you think to yourself, wait a minute, grow up a wee bit. This is personal, grow up a wee bit. Don't get too paranoid. But then you look at some of the issues and some of the incidents and decisions and you think, well, what else can it be? It's basic, simple stuff that an amateur game a referee would get right. How can this guy who's wired up, mic'd up to another 4 officials not get that right? If it's not incompetence, it's got to be cheating.
We're discussing how bad the referee was, and basically Hector saying it was just blatant cheating. Ralph's raising a good point of Craig Gordon getting sent off even though the striker gets shot away. So the question I was going to ask you, Eddie, as the recognised fans chief, what exactly should Celtic be doing about this? Are they going about this the right way with a letter asking this for clarification?
I'm not sure there's much we can do. Celtic getting cheated with referees is not a new thing. And I think I heard somebody saying earlier on they thought that this was gone, but it's quite clear that this season was a big season for us. In terms of the manager's made a big deal of winning the treble since very early on in the season, and the fans seem to get caught up in that. And that's been the talk for the last few months now. It's hard not to get paranoid sometimes, but the whole Scottish Cup run has been difficult right from day one in terms of the ties that we've got. And then if you look at some of the refereeing decisions in the previous round up at Tannadice, and we had to overcome that. And I think we can...
What referee was that? Was that McLean as well?
Yeah, I don't have any trust in them that the SFA or the SPFL to do the right thing. I just think they're incompetent. I think they're ruining the game in this country. I think they're doing everything they can to send, to pit fans off to come turning up at games. And, I think Celtic can go through whatever channels they want to do with the football authorities, but they're just going to get nowhere. I mean, the stuff that came out today about them saying, they made the right decision, and the whole thing's just a farce.
It's a good point what he made there as well. because yeah, we're used to it and everything else. But if you take the bigger picture, maybe it's because the SFA were talking about the Armageddon and this is the end of football now that they're gone.
I live in a country where nobody wants to see us successful, that's for sure, other than our own people, other than our own supporters. You know, and I know that sounds really sort of a, you know, paranoid and, you know, parochial, but that's basically what we're up against in this country. Folk don't want to see a successful Celtic. They're okay to take what, you know, whatever funds that we throw at them, and, you know, in terms of, you know, financing the game, but, you know, in terms of actually Celtic successful, and for me Sunday just proved that, given all the hype it was on about the treble, and you've got to ask yourself, you know, I mean, why is it more difficult for us to win trebles than anybody else? It's not because we were never good enough in the past, and I think Sunday just highlighted that for me.
Can't disagree with that. It was heartbreaking because I thought finally we'd get something. Finally we'd get the treble that we've not had for 15 years since the last one, which is in itself astonishing when you consider how dominant. We should have had 2 or 3 in the last 3 or 4 years. And when you see something that is just, like Eddie says, like blatant cheating to stop it. We can't stop it in the league because it's over a year. But any one of the cups, they can do it, and I think that's what they've done. I hate to sound paranoia, but you only have to be right once, and then your paranoia is justified.
Indeed. So this whole SFA. So again, as Eddie said, there's nothing really the Celtic can do about it, and the SFA are not going to change. Hector, is it just a case of we like it and lump it?
I think it's fascinating that whenever Celtic challenge or question a horrendous decision, Celtic are made out to be the bad guys. Yeah, and it's as if Celtic have been the guys who made the mistake in the goal line, who one of our players used their hands to save it. You would think that's what's happened over the last few days. No, so rather than being the victim, it's as if Celtic are the guys who have caused the whole thing. And that's the bit that's frustrating more than anything else. You know, I think when Scotland lost a game a few years ago, I think it's to Italy, and the SFA wrote to UEFA, I'm sure it was, asking for the referee to be, you know, demoted. And yet Celtic do something for one of the worst decisions you will ever see, and they're castrated by the Scottish media. They just circle the wagons and put the boot in. But I would say the difference is, if anything, it makes us stronger. And a part of me thinks it's good that they show their true colours every now and again. And it just, I don't know about you, but when it's all going well all the time, I get a wee bit uneasy about it. I just think, you know it's there, and when it just pops its ugly head again, part of me thinks, right, let's effing take them on again. Let's do it.
No, that's a good point, because it just made me think, Ralph, have they possibly given Ronnie Delia a wake-up call to what Scotland's really like, because he'd escaped it up to this point, apart from a negative media, but they really kind of experienced really severe refereeing mistakes.
It's a good question. You'll notice after the game he sent John Collins out to deal with the media, because I think he might have been a little more honest about how things are if he'd been the guy talking about it. Because everywhere else in the world, it just doesn't happen. What you've seen is one. I can't stress it enough. We've been cheated against again, and as an outsider, Dyler would have seen that and thought to himself, "Wait a minute, I've heard about this. They've been talking about this. The older guys. I don't know if you've seen the tweet from Kathleen Murdoch, who said Bobby always used to say we had to play the establishment as well, and now he's seen it. Now, he can either walk away and disappear and think, I don't want a part of this, or, and I think it's more than his personality, the way he is, he'll think to himself, wait, now I've got something here I can get into. I can do something that will get me a reputation as somebody that just doesn't put up with it or whatever. I think it'll fire him up a wee bit. And I really want, in 6 years' time, to be looking back at 10 in a row so we can all laugh about this.
Well, that is a very good. Do you actually think we'll get any chance of getting to 10 in a row if this is what the referees are like for the treble? Right, we're going to talk about the SFA and the whole McLean, Meekings getting let off, but I don't really think anybody cares. Hector,
can I ask EddieToner a question? It's just occurred to me.
You can try.
Yeah, as the fans chief, as it were. Would he recommend to people who go to the games from the south buying a season book based upon the way that the TV is influencing the time of the kickoffs? Because we've a club meeting first of next month, which might not take place because we're thinking of coming up. Well, we're coming up the Friday for the Dundee game, which means the meeting will be on the bus, which means none of us will remember what was said. But this is a time where we're looking to get the season books again, and is it worth it? There's one boy, he's only made the Saturday games. He's been to 5 games, for which he's paid, say, just under 500 quid for. Is it worth us buying a season book? And should Celtic be looking at that?
Yeah.
Bearing in mind that
this is a real bug. This is a real bugbear of mine. I mean, I run a supporters club. We run a supporters club here in Glasgow that, we live a mile away from Celtic Park, so it's not a problem for us to, we only run it away games and all our boys buy their season tickets because we can literally walk up and go at any time. But I think this is a real problem for Celtic that they need to address. I've argued, for law about it.
I've got a kind of bittersweet story regarding season books for next year because just a few weeks ago my uncle passed away. He was 80 and it turned out he'd inherited the family season book from my granddad, and then now it's get passed down to me, so I'm the third in the generation. So now we're into the 81st year of this season book, and I'm actually thinking,
you need to keep it going.
Well, this is it. You've not got a choice really. But as you say, thankfully I'm back for working in London at least now, so I might be around on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whenever the games are actually going to get scheduled. As you say, it's difficult.
But you do realise you've just given Peter Law now a great new marketing ploy, haven't you?
This is it.
Renew your ticket your granddad had 60 years ago. You're not a real
I'll give you 3 words, Hector. The Celtic family.
Tickets for life.
See, with us, we'll all sit down and we've got new members coming in saying, "Oh, I can't," because for me, having your name in a season book it's a pride thing. It's like you said, the Celtic family, you're part of it. I've not had a book now for about 8-9 years because the way things worked out, I got a different job, a promotion, which meant I couldn't go to Saturdays. So there was no point in me having it. Now there's a point in me having it again. So there's a point that I can have one again now because I'm free on Saturdays. But I'm free, but Celtic aren't. It's...
Wait a minute. Ralph, are you saying you did not leave Celtic, Celtic left you?
Oh, wait, now, I've heard that before somewhere.
No, Jimmy Nielsen.
No, it's like, I'm ready to come back, but, you're out on a Wednesday now, and you're out on a Sunday, and I can't do it anymore. You promised me you'd meet me at Saturday, 3 o'clock every week. Because that's how it used to be. You'd get the home games on a Saturday, the away games on a Sunday. And your season book would get you the away games, and it's not happening no more.
I was going to say, Ralph, I think the club, right, there's a part of it which is fair enough, right, is the Europa League. If they're in the Europa League, fair enough, right, but that's only is that 3 home games they've got to then move to a Sunday? Out of what?
The away games.
And the 3 away games.
No,
we got unlucky.
What I'm talking about, guys, I'm talking about your own season ticket, right? If you're a season ticket holder, you're losing probably 3 of the games moving to a Sunday, on average 3 of the 6 Europa League games, right? And if you get through the last 32, there's at least 1 more going to move to a Sunday. And that's 3 or 4 out of 19 games. I get that. But it's the other ones they're moving for a midwinter break or a pre-season friendly on a Saturday that goes to a Wednesday in January. And you're going to yourself, well, hold on a minute. You pay your money up front. It's a Saturday. You want to go there, 3 o'clock kick-off. I don't want to go to 4 games a season at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. So the club have really got to do something about this. And by that I mean not just saying, yeah, we'll listen. No, act on it. Have discussions with the TV companies and say, look, let's change this deal. Things have got to change. If it's not a 3 o'clock on a Saturday, make it 5:15 on a Saturday. Why make it a Sunday at 12:30?
Exactly.
Make it a Saturday. What's wrong with 5:15? Right.
That's an England game,
move it. But if it's BT Sport, whoever, who gives a damn? Because there's games on Sunday at 12:30 at the same time there's 2 games on. So there's nothing to stop them doing that. It's just a lack of foresight and saying to guys, look, your fans are unhappy. We fund the game here in this country. Get it sorted. And that's what I think frustrates a lot of fans.
It's right. When we used to drive up, you would see the Corby bus, you would see the Leicester bus, you would see the Derby bus, you would see the Shrewsbury bus. Now it's just pretty much us.
You must have the most fun-packed bus in the world.
We're a Terrier carrier now. We're not a bus anymore.
Oh no, you had to get that in, didn't you? You've been holding that one back to the start of the podcast, haven't you?
I've only got 2 jokes. I
That's
need to get
the first one of the year. First mention of the year. But again,
it's getting it's a much more updated and modern Terrier carrier now. It's not mine anymore. It's Big Chris's. And to be fair, if that guy had showed up at the club and got his season book, we'd have went to even less games, or we'd have went on the train.
Hector, while we're waiting for Eddie coming back, is also the emotional blackmail or the next game blackmail the whole if you attend this cup game you can guarantee yourself a ticket for the following rounds, blah blah blah. Is that all starting to fall in its arse too?
It's been on its arse for years, Daisy. Because we can all see through it. It's a bag of shite. I mean, it has been for years. So it's just a nonsense. The thing is, if it's a midweek game for a League Cup, we accept that. If it's a Scottish Cup away game moving to a Sunday, we accept that. But it's the home games, your season ticket, your league games. Out of those 19 league games at home, you've got to have at least 12 of them. At least 12 of them at home. And there's nothing to stopping that happening. And at home on Saturday afternoon. But if it's not 3 o'clock, make it 5:15. At least it gives everybody an opportunity to get to the match. After it, get a couple of pints, and you still get the Sunday off for those people travelling, rather than this Sunday carry on. It's a bit of a joke.
That's it. There's nothing worse than coming back and getting back late at night and knowing you have to get up for work in the morning, or the afternoon as I have to. But for the rest of them, some of them start at 7 in the morning. And they're doing it now out of duty because they've done it for years and years. But one day they're just going to turn around and miss a game and then think, oh, well, that wasn't so bad. I'll miss another one. And it's not difficult to get a ticket for the game anymore. You saw that yourself with the Inter Milan game. It was looking like I was missing it, and then 5 minutes later, the boy for Stafford's ringing me up and saying, do you want to go to the game? Yeah. And that was it. It was done. It's so easy. And it must be even easier if you're living in Glasgow. You can, the old days where you would think to yourself, do you know what, I fancy going to the game this afternoon, I've got nothing else to do.
Has Aberdeen...
Now they can just wander down to the ground and they'll get a ticket.
Has Aberdeen's challenge, so to speak, this year made it look as though it's a more interesting package than it really is? I.e., they'll start trying to sell it for next season as can Aberdeen go one better? That usual shite.
I think the fans. I don't I know why you're asking the question. I don't think that has a major difference. Although it does help to have somebody challenging. Absolutely. I think we're all honest about that. But I think the most important thing is, see if Celtic are playing good football, and under Dial we've spoken this over the season. You can see the vast improvement, and you can look ahead to next year with a bit of confidence that things will continue to improve. But if they play on a Saturday afternoon with his young team trying to play football, I think the crowd will return.
I agree with that because back at the start of the season, I wasn't a big Dial fan. You could probably tell that. But
John, can you repeat that? Can you repeat that, please, Ralph?
No. I wasn't a big fan, and that 6-1 game was fantastic. And I could see then what was trying to happen. It fell apart a bit afterwards, and then it came back. And yeah, he's got an idea, and it's brilliant, and I'm quite happy to watch it, because when it's good, it's very good. When it's bad, fair enough, it's awful. But the one thing that I have noticed, by the way, and I've not been talking about the football this week because I'm still annoyed at last Sunday, and not least because I had a wee deal going with Celtic to do plates and make some money, and now we haven't got a treble, and I'm not moaning at all about it. Wait till I tell you about the marketing department. Anyhow, I thought to myself, we've got something here. It's a good team. It's great to watch, and we'll build on it, and we'll keep going, and we'll keep going. And then I noticed that teams play like us against us, and we can't deal with it. Inverness were playing high up the pitch. You know how we've got the two defenders that can play football? Once they get under pressure, they don't know what to do. And that's a problem. We can play our system very well, but we can't play against somebody that tries to copy it.
Oh, Hector, you're the tactician of the team, so to speak. I was texting Ralph during the game on Sunday, asking what exactly were Chris Commons and Lee Griffiths doing on the pitch at the time, because I hadn't noticed them for at least 65 minutes. Was it a case of we were just a bit lightweight or ill prepared for the physical side of Inverness, Caley?
No, I don't think so. I just think circumstance. We're 1-0 at half time, and it should have been, well, it probably would have been 2-0, and then against 10 men the game's finished, right? And I think I could just see the human side of it at half time. The players get in there being frustrated, probably not having their heads straight in the second half. Maybe that's not as professional as what they should be, but it's just human nature, isn't it? Probably whinging in the dressing room about the referee's decision, being annoyed. They got the Inverness goal start the second half, and I think to play 70 minutes with 10 men is tough. And I think that's what beat us, if I'm being honest about it. I still thought though with 10 men we should have played a bit better. I thought we could have played a bit better than what we did with 10 men, because Inverness aren't exactly Barcelona. So, but at the same time, should you lose that player and it's down to 11 v 10 for 70 minutes, that's tough. That's tough going.
I think you're right with the circumstances. I think especially Virgil van Dijk lost it completely. If you see at half time when he's walking away with McLean and you see that photograph of McLean's face looking to him, that got to him. And it also got to Chris Commons. It probably got to Scott Brown as well, because he was booked early on, which kind of subdued him for the rest of the game. And there was a couple of 3 others that you felt just weren't concentrating. Now, as a football manager, you would say to them, look, it's done, it's over with, we can't change it. Let's stick to the plan, get the game done with, we'll moan about it later. But I don't think that happened. I think Dyler might well have been shocked by what he's seen. And at that point, I just think he wasn't in control of the players as much as he would have been under normal circumstances. I think it hurt him. I think it affected him.
I think you're absolutely spot on. I also think I'm going to criticise him. We're honest about things here. I think his substitutions were poor in the semi-final. I thought Toniev coming on was a joke, to be honest with you. I thought the guy hasn't played any time at all. Even the kind of development team matches, he's hardly played any minutes. To bring him on, I didn't get that. Taking off Forrest, who was probably our best player in the first half.
Absolutely.
The only thing I could say with Forrest is Forrest obviously struggles to go 90 minutes because of these injuries. Maybe that was part of the reason why he took him off. With 10 players, it's always tougher, obviously.
But then you've Callum McGregor that can do the same job if Forrest does get tired.
But here's a question, but Liam Henderson, who's played quite a lot of games this year, why let him go on loan just now?
Well, that kind of brings me on to a question I had.
After have been a management decision. There's something else.
After last night,
I can't see why he done that.
After last night, like Mackay, Stevens, and Armstrong, is it just a case of we'll be a lot better equipped next year, knowing that these guys can play all the time or as needed, but we don't have adequate. Their replacement value was not available when it was most needed, i.e. on Sunday. Because they're the sort of guys you were dying to bring onto the pitch at that point in time.
Mackay Stevens would have told them, to coin a phrase, he would have told them.
But Armstrong would also be. Armstrong would also been a lot more effective in the midfield than say Chris Commons was. He had a really bad game, and obviously he's had great games, but fair's fair, he had a really bad game on Sunday. The game just passed him totally by.
I would also say though, Desi, that you've got to remember Inverness's budget. I mean, their squad, budgetary terms, is vastly superior, and on our bench is far better than what they have in their first 11. So I kind of struggle with that to a large degree. I think sometimes you've got to accept that we didn't, maybe even with 10 men, play as well as we should have done. Some of our dial subs were pretty poor, I thought, as well. But here's my third point. I was going to come to this as well. I actually think the team was probably a wee bit tired. I seen a wee stat tonight saying that I think we'll play 61 games this season, which is the most any team's played, I think, in well over a decade. I didn't know that. So we've been playing like weekend Wednesday, pretty constantly. We've got a squad of about 14, 15 players, and I think that's a part of it. I just think how we played, Peston. I just think it's a part of it.
That's right. That is about 2002, 2003. I remember going to an awful lot of games that year, and it was certainly over 50. And you know when you sit down at the end and say how many did we do and who did what and everything else, we played 64 games that year, and that was I think that was the UEFA Cup final year. And I remember thinking to myself, bloody hell, I've done 52, 53, or whatever it was. It was something stupid, ridiculously high. And 64. And then I thought to myself, wait now, there's only 52 weeks in a year. We don't play through the summer. That's Sunday, Wednesday, whatever. And that's what's happened since July, Mike.
Right. Well, there's
not, you know, if we'd have still been in Europe, it would have been a nightmare.
Right. There's a few points I'd like to make on that. Just getting back a second, Hector. What I was meaning in regards of the Armstrong and the Mackay-Stevens is the fact that we should have been planning for that sort of thing earlier to make sure we don't have such a weak bench. That's what I was kind of meaning from that point of view. So it's a case of, okay, it'll be fine next year, but that's no any use next year when we're dealing with last Sunday. In respect to the 61 games, right, that kind of brings us back to also how hard it is to win a treble. This is Celtic's 5th competition this year. When you think about it, Champions League, Europa League, League Cup, then Scottish Cup. So it is like quite a big campaign. But also the reverse of that, I'm sure a few years ago, David Weir played something like 62 games in a season for Rangers at centre-half and captain. So I'm sure if David Weir can do it, somebody like Stefan Johansson can manage it.
But remember, David Weir played for Walter Smith, and it was what was the system Walter played?
But that's the whole point, isn't it? Then that's the whole point.
He parked the bus with, was it an 8-1-1 system, whereas Stefan Johansson, as you know, is probably the complete polar opposite in terms of how he plays the game to David Weir. His energy is up and down, pressing the ball, pressing defenders. We would sit, behind a midfield 5 or 6. We have a tight defence. It's very difficult.
But that then brings us back to the point regarding Mackay-Steven. So if Stefan Johansson's having a day of fatigue, which a lot of the Celtic players seem to be having on Sunday, that's exactly when you need to ensure you've got a really good squad that can fill in these places.
But my point, I'm kind of agreeing and disagreeing, because my point would be that our bench, as it was, should have been good enough. You've got your McGregors, you've got Shepovic there, you've got Guidetti's there.
Even as well, mind.
Right. And the thing is,
at all. He's just not getting a run.
I agree with you. And the thing as well with Liam Henderson. So our players on the bench are far, far superior to anything Inverness has got. That should have been enough. But maybe the question could be asked, has Dyla been limiting his squad to about 14 players? Is that maybe part of the problem, rather than saying, well, you know what? If I've paid $1.5 million for Shepovic, surely he should get more games than he's getting. You know what I'm trying to say? I think there's probably a few things at play here. I don't think it's just the one thing. I think there's maybe 3 or 4 factors at play here. The bottom line is, we should have went through with that decision, and it's now gone. So
exactly, it's done. But what you also need to think, when you're talking about the tiredness of the players, it doesn't have to necessarily be physical. It could be mental, because let's be honest, the league's pretty much won. We're just picking whatever day we're going to, seal it. If they already think they've won the league and the cup's now gone, then especially the next few weeks are going to be tired. Or they're going to appear tired. Was it Strachan that used to talk about mental tiredness? Because if they've in the back of their mind already won the league and now they're thinking, am I going to be staying here? Am I going to be picked for these Champions League qualifiers? Are we working that far ahead? Like when you're driving a motorway, you're looking at the car 10 cars away. Are we actually already done with this season and already thinking about next season? I just want to get it tied up as quick as possible.
I don't think so.
We can move on to number 5.
I've seen some games with the last few weeks where we have looked, a bit sluggish. Last Wednesday night against Kilmarnock, was it? The first half we played nice football, tippy-tappy. It was tippy-tappy. It was all away from the danger area. They went 1-0 up. I thought, here we go. It was like St Johnstone game 8 weeks or so ago. But then the last half hour we were terrific. So there's been signs of it. The players have looked a bit tired. And I felt on Sunday, I seen a bit of that again. I know it was 10 men, but I seen a bit of that again.
It's like Lee Griffiths. When he comes up, when somebody drops him, when he gets dropped, he'll come on the next game and he'll score within 5 minutes. And then it's like, well, I've done that now. And he'll run a bit and throw himself about, but there's nothing else coming from him. I'm kind of getting the feeling it's like get the job done. It's a mentality I've not associated with Celtic over the years, but it's when we go to 1-0 or 2-0, job's done. Let's save it. You can understand it from a professional point of view. You don't want to get injured chucking yourself into a silly tackle. You don't want to get booked doing something daft at the other end of the park. And I'm not sure if that business-like approach to it is perhaps affecting them.
Are we missing Anthony Stokes more than anyone thought we would?
No.
I don't mean you. I don't mean you personally. I don't mean you personally. I mean in general on the pitch, because that was.
Or are we missing something else? Do you remember when Gary Hooper was here, Chris Coleman,
Sorry,
and you had that wee teamy thing?
Ralph.
Is that not here?
Let me say something that will cheer Hector up, at least put a smile on his face. Hector, are we missing Mikael Lustig more than we should be?
Oh, God bless. I tell you what.
The man crush is back.
For all the fact that the Tash is a dashing musketeer, right? A rather handsome chap and a fine footballer, right? But all kidding aside, I actually think he's one of the leaders, one of the very few leaders that's there. He's really been a very effective player at right back. I just think he's a big miss for us. Matthews is good, but I think Lustig is a level above that. And I think having his experience in there is a miss for us. And obviously his history of injuries is going to be a concern over the last 2 or 3 years.
That's a really good point, because if you notice, when I was watching a game on one of those stream things, and Tom Boyd was doing the commentary, and it was a game where Lustig scored 3 goals. And he's already scored his 3, he's doing great. And Boyd's doing the commentary. And I think it was Izagirre had got the ball on the left wing, he cut in towards the box, and he crossed it. And Boyd went, right, where's Mikael? Oh, there he is. And it was because he was expected to be doing that job. He was having that game, and he obviously, somebody like Boyd, who maybe knows a wee bit more about how things work at Celtic than what we do, that's what he's expected to do. He's supporting the attack, he's doing the defence. Yeah, you're right, we do miss him. But I don't think we should pick a player just on the basis of its.
So what's going to happen is are the 2 centre-halves going to leave?
I'm going to put my neck on the line here. I don't think they will. Denayer is going to go back to Manchester City. He's not going to get a game. And in the last 12 months, he's made his debut for Belgium. So he'll be sitting down. He's not going to be available for the Champions League games, the qualifiers. Manchester City are taking him away on some sort of tour. And they'll assess him and they'll say, right, you can stay here, you can be a squad member. He's not going to get a game for them. I think he's going to stay. Now, his friendship with Van Dijk is very important. I think Van Dijk is going to think to himself, I can do another 12 months here, get a free transfer, get a wee bit of money. He's on a 4-year deal, isn't he? And he's going into his 3rd. I think we'll sell him next summer. Right. Danny Wilson looks a stick on to come in as a backup. And I think everything else, all these other players we're talking about, they're just smoke screens. I think Dyler is going to work on those too. Van Dijk's a different player than he was 12 months ago. He's adopting a bit more of the leadership thing, maybe a captain.
I think he's working his ticket. I think as you put it in the diary today, Hector, you can gauge your thoughts on this. Is Van Dijk's sudden run of form just purely a coincidence that we're coming to the end of the season and people may be looking for a new centre half down south?
I think he's he's full of his own self-importance, Van Dijk, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing for a professional athlete. We think you can see that with him. He thinks he's the best player in Scotland, and he strolls through games because of that. He's obviously a very good player. I don't know. I think he's obviously had an agreement with the club. I think he's came to an agreement with all, maybe in the January window, to say, look, stay till the end of the season. We're playing Inter Milan, and then we'll let you go. But I've heard that this might sound daft, but I'm going to throw it out there, right? I'd heard that Common's wife, Lisa Haig, she Somebody,
Eddie, is that the washing finished?
Is that Ali McCoy's tractor?
Well, I think EddieToner's in getting his tax MOT. I think that's what the problem's been. Sorry, Lisa Haig, what was she saying? Hector?
just saying we'd heard there. Put your engine off. I just saying we
people put that noise in.
I was just about to add you. There's that taxi on again. just about to add.
So Lisa Haig, what's she saying?
Aye, Commons' missus, right. She's obviously very active in terms of the local community, the charities, and even in recent weeks going to some of the Celtic bars during the day, but taking a lot of the players' partners with her. She's almost like, out of all the players' partners, she's the kind of the central figure. And just heard a lot of talk. A lot of the players' partners are really happy here, and part of me thinks some of them don't want to move. They don't want to go overseas or go down south. They're happy here. They're happy in the community they've got. Their husband's earning a good few quid, and I wonder if that's got a part to do with things as well.
I think.
Well, see, if I was a manager at Celtic, it's like my job involves managing people, and the first thing I do is make sure the women are happy, so to speak. I said that wrong, didn't I? Can we rewind?
I don't. This podcast could take a new twist. Okay, Ralph Mal's guide to management.
Make sure
Number one,
happy.
Keep the women happy. Carry on.
You make sure that the family's happy, because when he turns around and says, "Look, I'm wanting to move on," they'll do your selling for you. They'll say, "Wait now, we've got this here, we've got this, we've got enough money going out in the bank. The kids are at a good school. You don't have to worry about anything. You'll get promoted when your turn's up." And do you know what? Your manager likes you. He thinks you're great. He's put a lot of faith in you, and that's why people tend to stay with you. Now, if you transfer that to football, and you've got, like you say, Lisa Haig maybe saying this and that, and that gives the women as well a chance to air their grievances, which she could deal with.
But that's all very well and good for somebody like Chris Commons, who's on his last ever contract. Well, at Celtic at least. But for somebody like Virgil van Dijk, who clearly has aspirations to be on a much larger stage, do you honestly think he cares about anything like that? I think, as Hector said, there's been a deal done. Stay the 6 months. You'll get an extra £1 million off the transfer fee, which I think has not increased in the last 6 months. I wouldn't say that. I don't think the value of Scottish football has went up any since Foster and Wanyama left.
He's not your big baby-eating beast of a centre-half, is he?
But that's not what they're looking for, and that's been a long time since anyone looked for a big baby-eating centre-half, for want of a better phrase. They're all wanting ball players.
Ralph, that doesn't sound right, Ralph.
That's part of his guide to management number 2, baby eating.
Is that no Boris Johnson that said something like that during the week, was it? What did Boris Johnson say?
Is he back in the scene?
What was he said about...
He's not going to make the election if he's back. Telling you.
What was it he said? He came out with something about... what was it he said about eating kids or a baby farm?
Oh, you wouldn't have put Herod in charge of the...
a baby farm? What the fuck planet do these people live on?
You can't find a good baby farm for love nor money these days. So Virgil van Dijk, I think, is a cert to be off. Jason Denayer, here's one for you, Ralph and Hector. We'll come to Ralph first. Jason Denayer, as you said, has been called up for pre-season, but I noticed today that UEFA or FIFA, whoever it is, UEFA, confirming that only one team per country will now be deemed top seeds. So Man City have dropped out the top 16 and may now also have to go into, at the very best, top 4. So if they have to start playing early qualifiers, does that mean there's more chance of Jason Denayer being needed for the early season? So I don't actually think he'll get the chance to actually be at Celtic. I think it's a case of he'll just be held as a backup in Manchester.
If you notice, there's another defender that's been at Manchester City for about 4 years, I can't remember his name. I put him in the diary because he's.
Hello. Yeah, I'm now on the mobile phone. I don't know if this is any better.
Great.
Eddie, that's what I've been doing for the last 12 months. It's much easier and much better.
That's great. Okay, let's start from the start, lads. Okay.
Let's go to the beginning again.
Let's start from the start. So what about that game on Sunday, Eddie? What do you think? That was ridiculous.
Josh Meeking's knob or what?
right, EddieToner, we're talking about the close season, and we're talking about the frailties of Celtic's bench on Sunday there, and that's brought us up to the close season, and what players are we expecting to be leaving Celtic? Back to you, Ralph. So you think Denayer and Man City?
Right. There's another player at Manchester City, another centre-half, who's fourth in line.
Like Bedoya, what's his name? That's annoying, isn't it?
Aye, could be that, something like Bedoya. It is Bedoya, aye. Well, it might not be. But this boy's been there, he's 24 now, and he needs to move on. And one of the stories in the interweb was about him coming to Celtic, Denayer going back and taking up that fourth slot. Right, now, if I was Denayer, I'd be thinking to myself, wait, I can drop to fourth at a team which, fair enough, is paying good money, or I can carry on doing what I've been doing for the last 12 months, get international recognition. And if I'm only young, what is he, 19? There's plenty of time to make that money.
I think there's more chance of Denayer wishing to be at Celtic, but again, if teams like Ajax were rumoured to be sniffing around taking him on loan, or even even like say an Italian team, because he was talking about he's enjoyed getting familiar with the physical side of football in Scotland, because it's not something he's been used to in Belgium or at Manchester, so it's gave him a different outlook. But I don't know if it will actually be needing another year of doing it.
Mind I tell you about that 6-1 game earlier, the Dundee United one? That was Denayer's first game, wasn't it?
Who was that good guy from Cardiff that we sadly lost? What was his name? He scored in that game, didn't he?
Hairnet or something?
Oh, he was really good. That was a shame. He had a really good haircut and a beard. Remember Hector? You thought he was the best looking guy I've seen at Parkhead for a long while.
Second best after Lustig.
Is that right? He's went to Hearts.
Bergate, is he? Right.
I'm sure I read that somewhere. It might be nonsense. It's probably in the rumour mill. It might be nonsense, but I'm sure he's went to Hearts.
You just make things up, don't you? You just make things up. Do you know what? I'm sitting here laughing away, right? I tell you I'm laughing away when Ralph was talking about the Man City player. What was the guy you said his name was? Bedoya. So you're saying we've got Denayer. I'm going to put him back and get Bedoya. You made that up.
What's his name?
No, I'm telling you his name.
It's something like Bedoya. Oh, God, I have to give him a use.
Madonna, that's it.
Madonna.
Madonna.
Well, anyhow, this boy's definitely moving away from Manchester City. Now, he and Denayer will talk. Right? That's what happens with football, but that's what happens with staff. There's another management option coming up. They all talk to each other. Right? And when they're not talking about you, they're talking about their own prospects. And Denayer will say to this boy, is it worth me coming back to Manchester City? And he'll say, no, I've been here 5 years. I've played 20 games. What's it like at Celtic? Oh, I'll tell you what, mate. I've been playing the European football, and we're odds on to go into the Champions League. And, hey, I tell you, I played for Belgium. And he'll say, oh, did you? Aye. And if that's what happens, I don't doubt it.
Eddie, number 38 for Man City is Dedrick, not Derek, Dedrick Boyata. Boyata.
Boyata. You say tomato, I say Boyata.
Exactly. Right, so
that's him. That's him.
There's obviously a link, right, with Man City now with Celtic. The fact they could bring in Guidetti and Denayer on loan for the whole season, right? So there's obviously someone say Law's son works for Man City as part of the scouting. I'm sure I read that somewhere. Yeah.
I think it's either that or I go through Manchester.
No, that can't be true, Hector, because it would be in the rumour mill if it was true, surely.
But that everything in the rumour mill's false, don't remember. There's no truth in it.
I was on Kerrydale Street, and they've got a thread there, how true is the rumour mill? And I thought, oh, for Christ's sakes.
What do you mean it's all true?
It was quite interesting to read. We know it's all true. The lawyers.
Right, okay, let's get back to the right. So centre halves. So Van Dijk's away. We're saying Denayer may not be available at the very best. So that leaves you with Ambrose and Mulgrew at centre half while we negotiate with Danny Wilson. Really, is that the sort of picture we're looking at Celtic? Is that?
I don't.
Right, now I'm going to pull you up on that, Des.
I am asking you a question.
5 minutes ago, you were saying Gary Mackay, Stephen Stewart, Armstrong, they're grand. Now, we've been to Dundee United games, and I couldn't have told you which one Stuart Armstrong was. Mackay Stephen I spotted, but Armstrong, we're just thinking.
Look at this day, Ralph. What I said was, you're looking at Mulgrew and Ambrose while we negotiate with Danny Wilson. That's what
I like Big Effie, and Charlie Mulgrew's not a bad player either.
You want to go into the Champions League qualifiers, which basically start a month after the season finishes. Is that as your centre pairing? Is that what you're saying? Don't forget the players get 2 weeks off on holiday. That's already been agreed. So you're only looking at maybe 2-3 weeks at the very most.
Ambrose got an African Nations Cup winners medal.
Playing it right back.
That only happens to about 20 people every 4 years.
Playing it right back. He wasn't playing centre half.
Well, he's better at centre half, isn't he?
Is he? Against who? The Mung?
I don't know. I think you're giving him a rough deal there. I think Ambrose is a player.
I am not.
I like him. I know I've made my jokes about him, but I think he's all heart. He's like a big kind of, who can I compare him with? He's like big Roddie MacDonald a few years ago. Or, that kind of player. They'll just throw themselves into it and hope for the best.
A cat horse, as my friend used to call Ramen Vega. A cat horse. Basically somebody whose job is to get in the way.
I prefer effort than start. No, I don't. I'm talking shite. I'm not. No, Ambrose. I've got more faith in him. He's fast. He's strong, and there's a lot of things he does that he never gets praised for. But see if he makes a mistake, he gets picked on. He's like a kind of scapegoat thing. But there's a few times when he's been charging back. What do you call him, Paul Elliott? He used to do the same thing. He'd be out of position. He'd run back, make a tackle. He's a hero. Ambrose does the same thing, and he's not given the praise for it. I'm going to burst into tears. I like Big Effie.
EddieToner, are you back on?
I think I'm just back on it. I thought I've tuned into the Effie Ambrose, the Effie Ambrose Appreciation Society.
Welcome to our second caller on the Effie Ambrose Appreciation Society. Effie, is that you?
I've got mixed views about Effie, to be honest. I was listening to what you were saying there about Effie, and I don't think he's the worst. I think sometimes he gets a bit of a raw deal for the fans, but he's also conscious that he's one of these guys that gives you can guarantee you he'll make 2-3 mistakes a game. And if you can't do that in the Champions League. You do that in the Champions League, you get slaughtered. So, no, I'm sorry, I'm not for Effie for the Champions League.
Yeah, and that's just the qualifiers we're talking. We're talking at the end of June. Effie Ambrose, Charlie Mulgrew, and Hector. Is there anybody else you could? Lustig may be back. That's true.
Listen, can I just say I've just mastered getting this thing on my phone. I'm going to stop sending me messages and smiley faces because it's just confusing me.
Is that to us or to Effie Ambrose? Who you talking to?
Tell you what, Effie's got a magic smile. To be fair, he's got a great big smile.
He's a big curly toe, according to Neil Lennon.
He's also gave the fans one of the best chants I've heard and most humorous chants I've heard in a long time. The Effie Ambrose Ballon d'Or chant that's came out in the last few weeks, I just think absolutely brilliant.
How does it go?
Did you take me through that? I've not been up for a month or so.
I know what Eddie, you sing it, Ed. You're a better singer. I've heard you a chant.
It's Effie Ambrose, Effie Ambrose, Effie Ambrose Ballon d'Or. And it goes on like that, and it's a brilliant chant.
And
I think Big Effie
was available at all good record shops. I like him. I put a terrible thing. I get text messages for this off the rest of the guys in the club. I found a picture of some army guys with a big donkey on their back, and I put it in the diary, and I said Effie has helped home from training, and I felt real bad when I done it. But I got a lot of texts saying that was quite funny and everything, but it's terrible. Even I like the guy, And even I'm taking the piss, and I still think he looks like him at the Wild Geese. Mind the one they rescued, Richard Burton and Richard Harris. He's a spitting image of that Julius, whatever he's called, Limbani. He's a spitting image of that guy.
For younger listeners, that was yet another topical reference by Ralph Malph for everyone to enjoy.
Barry Norman, 1974.
Wild Geese. Available in all good Betamax video stores. And Laserdisc.
Right, so see getting back to the point, right, Eddie, while you were away, try to get your Skype uploaded.
And your tax MOT'd.
Do you know what it was? He was away doing a couple of hires. Do you know that? I bet he was away doing a couple of hires saying, oh, by the way, Hen, listen, there's someone Skype.
It's the garage. It's off the road for 2 days. I tell you that earlier today.
You've been the Swally. Right.
No, I actually stayed out the pub because I knew I was doing this tonight, and after the last tour, I was wishing I was in the pub, to be honest.
Well, let's go get back to Desi's point about Denier and probably Van Dijk. Probably both going to leave, I'd imagine, right? One may stay, but it looks like they're both going. The boy Wilson of Hearts was mentioned coming in as a free transfer, whatever it may be. I think Ronnie Dyler. I think now he's got his year under the table, just about feet under the table after a year. I think he'll have decent players lined up. I don't think he's like other managers. He'll demand £5 million of that. I think his track record shows that. Look, he'll try and scout as well as he can. He'll look in Scotland for young players, but at the same time, I think he'll go back to the Scandinavian market. Their leagues up there, and try and get a couple of good centre halves up there, and maybe cost a couple of £1 million, and I'd be happy with that. I've got to give the manager a bit of faith and confidence what he's done so far. So I think we should try to back what he does next.
So, but you have the same.
I think that's a good shout, but I think that's a good shout. But we really need to be doing our business for the Champions League almost immediately that the season finishes. The minute the window opens, we need to be bringing players in because. It's all right kidding and joking about Big Effie. We can't go into the Champions League with Effie and Charlie.
Yeah, we can't do it.
Halves. I mean, everything hinges on the Champions League for next season, I think, And I'd like to think that Ronnie's already done this spade work there and he maybe have one or two lined up. And I think that's a fair shout. I think you've got to imagine he'll be looking at, Norway and Denmark and Sweden and these places. It's a market he knows and
He made a good point. You see Desi, just a few weeks, maybe one of his conferences about 2 or 3 weeks ago, he made it seemed to go under the radar a wee bit here. He was asked about next season, and he said he's hopeful of signing 3 players on a Bosman who are out of contract, and it never seems to get mentioned since then.
That's right. He did.
And it's like it's as if you said, Eddie. I think he's got them lined up already. Who he wants to bring in, and I think Henderson going to Rosenborg was maybe part of one of the players coming another way. I think that's part of something.
Has Ronnie Dyer actually identified any signings that's been there since he arrived? Do you think? Do you think he identified Mackay, Stevens and Armstrong? Did he identify Berget, who was such a good signing?
Berget was a panic thing, wasn't it? That was before the
Is that one of his? That's what I'm saying. Is that one of his?
Well, to be fair on him, he did say that his strategy, he was looking to strengthen the scheme with good local players, and he was wanting to look at the Scottish market and stuff like that. So you have to think he had definitely had a big hand in the 2 boys for Dundee United. In terms of all the rest of the players, I think most likely most of the deals were done before the deal for Dahlia was done. But by all accounts, Celtic were in talks with him long with. I don't think Celtic just bring managers in at the last minute. So, I think they were probably talking to Ronnie for some time before the deal was actually done. And whether or not he identified players or no, who knows?
From what, when you're talking about Dyler there, from what I can gather, you've seen that boy Christian Wolf on Twitter, and the Norwegian fellow lives in Glasgow, and he put something out about Ronnie Dyler and Celtic perfect match, which was about 4 weeks before it actually happened. And I asked him, I says, look, is it because you said this, and laughing and joking and that? It wasn't. It was when Johansson was getting scouted. Somebody spotted Dyler as a good coach, as far as I can gather. And he was brought in to be number 2 after Lennon gets sacked. And it kind of went from there. Nobody else wanted the job. It seems quite plain that it was offered elsewhere.
Well,
and then Dyler got kind of promoted as a sort of, look, we need to really get somebody in. And I think we've dropped on. I honestly think, and looking over the course of the 12 months, I've went from Ronnie's a diddy to Ronnie's actually quite good at what he does. And I think next year you'll see Ronnie's Celtic. This year you've seen maybe what's left over. What do you call him? Timu Puki's due back. Ramiro Baldi's due back. And I think he's just going to turn around and get rid of most of what's there before. I think he'll keep maybe a core, because that's important when you're building a football team. And he'll move on. Like Tom Rogic, he got a game for the development team tonight, which I thought was interesting. I think they've a lot of talent at the club that he might take to one side and say, right, I'm going to make you better if you want to stay. I think they've got a core of players that he's going to bank on, and I think he's got people he's looking at that he's going to bring into the club. And I think Danny Wilson's one of them.
I think because I was
don't forget, he's from that Murray Park conveyor belt, and sooner or later they're going to get somebody that's good.
I was going to say, I think the key positions, obviously it looks like the centre halves, probably 2 centre halves are required, right? That's just common sense. I mean, somebody at left back to be challenging Izagiri or replacing him. And we certainly, I think the key position, but a striker. We need a striker, an out-and-out striker. Yeah. I think we've had too many. We've spent so much money on players at £500,000, £1 million. We've about 10 of them have let go. The Pukis, the Baldies, Shepovic, you name them, have all come in. We need to just scout one absolute.
But they're not getting a run the team, are they? They're not getting a chance to settle into that position with the feed.
Hector.
It's like Griffiths isn't he big enough to do it? Strong. Griffiths isn't
but that's the manager's decision. He's got Guidetti on loan. He bought in Shepovic, whether he did or not. Eddie's point earlier. And Griffiths, he was going to, by all accounts, let go on loan early in the season. But it's clear that he's not got a number one clear pick there as striker. And I don't think any of them are of the quality that we want. I think we need somebody better than what we've got, who will be in there in the penalty box, can link up play, is quite aggressive in terms of they can compete for the ball with a bit of pace. And I think the scouting's good. You can get a good player for £2 million who will fit the bill for us. With the pace we have, with Mackay Stevens, with Armstrong, with Brown, with Johansson round about them, it's quite exciting, but we need a number 9 who can do the job.
Hector, where have you saw a decent striker for £2 million?
I think you can get them.
And again, let's remember, this is a guy who has to play with his back to goal and facing the goal. And again, it might be a case of Ronnie Dyer is going to have to address his own managerial style, as in one up front isn't going to work if you're obsessed with playing flying wing backs and wingers. And you've not got anybody in the front.
Back to goal or front. Good players can play back to goal in front.
It's not one up front, it's 3 up front. The idea is the guy on the right gets the ball, the other 2 become your strikers. The guy on the left gets the ball, the other 2 become your strikers.
But not when they're all 5 feet 5.
You've Johansson bombing forward as well, so in effect you get 4.
Gary Mackay-Stevens capable. He's a great guy to have next to a big guy, because he's quick and he's instinctive, and I'll tell you what, he's going to be a legend if he stays long enough. I've not seen a player work as hard. I've not seen a player so happy at Celtic for a long, long time.
Right.
Who's that? Are you talking about Johansson, are you?
No, Mackay-Stevens.
Oh, absolutely.
I would agree. I've got one thing to warn you about Mackay-Stevens, Ralph. During the summer, Gary Mackay-Stevens is getting a hair transplant. So again,
it's over. It's over.
I'm just letting you know. Like Stokes and Griffiths hardly set the pitches alight when they came back from their hair transplant. So we might be free. But he announced when he signed for Celtic that he was getting the same hair transplant as Rooney and they two come the summer.
Right, Desi, can I just get back to Eddie's point? It's just you're talking and thinking about it, about getting the players in for the start of the Champions League. Because you think the amount of money that we waste year on year in the last day or 2 of the transfer window, right? Yep. Shepovic, Pukki, Borekter, it goes on and on and on and on. Whereas if you get 1 or 2 good players in, even at the same price, start the season, if it's June, at the start of pre-season, the difference that can make to the team. Instead, we get guys in at the last minute, we've got so high expectations for them, and invariably, they're not up to scratch for us. And it's just terrible planning.
I think the strategy in the past was to get through the qualifier. Everything was gambling and just get, and we were probably a bit more confident of getting through the qualifiers in the past, and then spend some money to make a bit of an impact in the Champions League. But we're no longer in a position where we can afford to do that. Everything for us is going to be geared to getting through the qualifiers now. And we need to be ready for that. I just think, it'd be a complete dereliction of responsibility if they've not got players lined up immediately for the end of this season. This is going to be the shortest a close season in record for the players by all accounts. And we need to, when we come back training, to have, two centre halves if the rumours are right that the other two guys are going to go away. I actually think, I only come in at the very end of the Denayer thing. I think Denayer might give another season. And possibly Van Dijk will as well, depending on who comes in for him. I still think there's an outside chance that the two of them might be there next season. But the problem is that it looks like Man City are going to take Denayer away on their close season tour to have a look at him. So we need to have somebody lined up. Yep. And I agree. I think that's our priorities. But I believe we need that striker. They don't grow in trees, and you've got to hope that the scouting networks out there in Dahlia might have his ideas and a prolific scorer somewhere. But I would love to see us playing two men up as well. I know Ronnie's got his philosophy and he seems to be sticking to it. But
Frank McAvenny had a good point last week on Radio Clyde. Where
I'm telling you, I
was just about to say it was very rare for it to happen, but he did. Whereby he asked the question, why are we continuing to play Guidetti when he's obviously leaving, when Shepovic can't even get off the bench? Whereby at the start of his career at Celtic, Shepovic did look like a European game-style striker. He could lay a ball.
I think that highlights what that Shepovic probably wasn't Ronnie's signing. I think if Shepovic was Ronnie's signing, then he would have persevered with him.
Dyler did say he's basically told Shepovic he has to work on various areas of his game. The same idea he's told Lee Griffiths and he told Anthony Stokes and even Chris Commons, and basically it showed him what was needed, say, defensively or defending from the front, let's say. So again, maybe he's told Shepovic. Again, maybe a case of why are we not trying to bring him in towards the end of this season, especially now the cup's away.
I actually think Shepovic has got something about him. I'm not, I've seen wee flashes here where he looks like a football player. Whether he's the prolific scorer we need, I don't know, but I do think there's something about the guy.
And purely because of
the big Swede, I just don't rate Guidetti for a striker. I don't think he's too one-sided and his first touch is appalling, So, no, I'm sorry.
I think his seed's elsewhere, Eddie. I think he was great with the first couple of months. Then I think the Feyenoord thing, obviously these things don't happen overnight. They've contacted him maybe back about Christmas time or so. And I think he's just taken his seed elsewhere. He just doesn't look the same player at all since that first couple of months at Celtic. So, but I'm back to the point that was made earlier. He wouldn't be in my team. He's not going to be there next year. What benefit do we get out of playing that guy and not playing others? Particularly when Guidetti's not playing well. I just don't see the value. So Ronnie, who I think's been great, but some bits I think, wait a minute, you should be doing better here with a couple of these decisions you're making as well.
Well, maybe he's just, as a manager, maybe he's just looking at what he's got and making his own mind up. Maybe with Guidetti, he's thinking to himself, right, there's a chance we can keep him, because Feyenoord don't want him anymore, and that's where Guidetti wanted to go. And sometimes, he's only young, he's 24, he's maybe making a mistake, and maybe Dyler's thinking, well, I can take him to one side and put him right, but he's maybe had to look at him to see if it's worth putting him right. You do that with people when you manage them. As to a striker, I keep getting back to when I was at Blackburn a few years back, and there were a corner kick, and we'd get Henry Larsson, Chris Sutton, and John Hartson, and you've never seen fear like on the faces of those Blackburn defenders. I would just take one of them just now, any single one of them.
I don't know about all,
but we don't have that. So we need to look. We need to look for another one.
What about Jim Melrose?
Stephen Bonds, he must be coming to fruition. He's been working on his game.
What about Stevie May? Or Johnny Russell? Well, maybe not Johnny Russell, but Stevie.
What's the guy who plays for Aberdeen? What's the guy who plays for Aberdeen? That's the same as people going, we should sign Rooney for Aberdeen. He'd be a revelation for Celtic. Because the guy has a good SPL season, suddenly it could be a potential world beater. Look at what.
So what you're saying is because he's scoring goals, we shouldn't bother.
No,
with
I'm
him.
trying to say you've got to have a bit better vision than just saying, "Oh, that guy is quite good on sports scene. Come and we'll get him."
I think that's a fair point. I mean, everybody ranted and raved last season about Stevie May. Would you have Stevie May should be a Celtic signing because he was scoring goals every week for St Johnstone? But Stevie May's not a Celtic player. I'm not sure Adam Rooney is either. I mean, fair play to the guy. He scored, I think, 27 out of Aberdeen's 54 goals this season, which is incredible. You know, but you know, I wouldn't even be looking at these guys until they can do that maybe for 2 seasons or 3 seasons, and then you would maybe start to take them.
That's a good point. That's a good point. See them do it 2 or 3 years in a row. That's what you should be looking at. Because the service, we're taking 15, 16 chances and we're scoring 1 or 2. We just need somebody that. Do you know who would be ideal for this? Is somebody like Joe Craig, but he's getting on now. Somebody that'll put his head in, put his foot in, and just score goals.
Hector, do you think Jordan Rhodes could do a job for us?
Jordan Rhodes, do you know what? I would break the bank for Jordan Rhodes, right? Jordan Rhodes, what is he, 22, 23?
He must be about 40, because you're big.
No,
ever since you let Gary Manning go, you've been going on about
Jordan Rhodes would be a legend at Celtic. He's about 6'1". He's powerful, right foot, left foot, good in the air. And another thing as well, the boy's a bloody Celtic fan, which, if you're a good player and a Celtic fan, it makes a difference. Unfortunately now for us, we let the boat go, and we will not pay £6, £7, £8 million for a player. But
it costs you a lot more than that.
That's the point. It's gone now, right? But what a player. We could have got him from, who was it? He was at initially at Huddersfield. He was banging Scotland
when he was at Huddersfield. We did put an offer in. I was talking to some people up at Huddersfield. I was working at Huddersfield at the time, and we did put an offer in, but Blackburn put a silly offer in.
Yeah, he actually started it.
I think we offered $5 million, somebody says, and they bought him for $8, and his wages were just way out.
Yeah, Hector, I'll read you a few.
I mean, that's what you're up against here, but guys, you're competing even,
and this is why we shouldn't pay for Sky.
Hector, I'll read you a few stats. Sorry, Eddie, hold on, a few stats. Jordan Rhodes is currently 25. He started at Ipswich, where he played 10 games and scored 1 goal. And then he went on loan a few times, but ended up at Huddersfield, where he played 124 games and scored 73 goals. Then he went to Blackburn, where he's currently played 131 games and scored 70 goals. For Scotland under 21s, he played 8 games and scored 8 goals. And then for Scotland, who, of course, Gordon Strachan famously said he can't find a place for him, he's played 12 games and scored 3 goals. Now, there's your proven striker, but he'd cost you probably a good £20 million.
I wouldn't go that far, no, he wouldn't cost you 20, but I respect
he would just include wages.
He would just start factoring in people, your Charlie Austins, etc.
No, I'm going to agree with you. No, he's out with their price range. I just don't think it'd be £20 million, but he's out with their price range now.
So that's what the thing you get for $2 million.
No, but the thing is, right, we just bought Mackay, Stephen and Armstrong, right? What did we pay for them in total? Was it £2 million in total for the 2 players, right? And I like Ralph earlier. Mackay Stephen obviously being a winger, he was easy to identify with his pace. Armstrong I'd never really noticed that much. So I wasn't too sure about it, and I watched him a bit, I still wasn't too sure. That boy's a player and a half. So we paid £2 million for 2 boys that are going to be sensational for us over the next, hopefully, 3, 4, 5 years. So you can get good players if the scouting's right. So I don't buy this, it's going to be £10 million. We could have got Rhodes probably years ago when he was breaking into the Huddersfield team, his first year, £1.5 to £2 million. But your scouting's got to be right and get it at the right time. And we don't do that often enough. That's the problem.
Well, to be honest, if you're a scout and you're thinking to yourself, right, what am I calling this week? Or there's a boy at Portugal that looks all right, and then there's that boy in Spain, or I can go to Huddersfield. What are you going to do? That's what's wrong. It's the whole scouting network.
So let's not forget, it's not long ago since we got Gary Hooper, who was a great striker.
But we got him because of Neil Lennon. Remember, Neil Lennon was down at Notts Forest, was it, for 18 months, a year or 18 months, right? And his contacts, we got Kelvin Wilson, he was down there, Gary Hooper, and Alan Thompson got us in, big Fraser Foster.
Don't forget Chris Commons came for Derby as well.
Right, so this wasn't our scouting network. Our scouting network's been pretty shit. The only ones we've brought in that's been really good for us has been Wanyama, obviously, was an amazing deal for us. But these guys from down south, this hasn't been the scouting network.
Now you've hit the nail on the head there, because if you're a great player in the English First Division and you're looking to the next step up, like Ian Rush at Chester and many, many others, you're not going to get a job at a big team in England, no matter what. So if we can identify the players that are doing it in the English First Division, that are, 21, 22, and have the potential to go on to be a great striker, they're the guys we should be looking for.
Right, but EddieToner, is this no shown as a reflection of the times that we're talking about? Let's scout the English First Division, which is their third league, which is the sort of league people like Stevie May goes down to when they leave Scotland.
I meant the English Second Division then.
No, well that's down to fourth.
We should really be scouting as many leagues as we possibly can. We're a big club. When it comes to European football, British football, whatever you want, we're up there and we're a name. And we, if our scouts turn up at the places, then folk will, sit up and take notice. And I don't think we should be. We should have a scouting network where people are picking up the phone and tapping into Lennoxtown or Celtic Park or together, and saying, "Oh, was it a game in Yorkshire here last night? And this boy looks a player he's maybe worth having a look at." Or I'm down in the south of England, this player's a decent player. Or I'm up in Aberdeen or Inverness. They should be working like that, and we probably do have scouts covering the lower leagues and in the youth leagues and all over the country. It's just getting the right player, isn't it? And it's no easy. We're lucky with Hooper. But they're few and far between.
You're spot on.
Celtic scorers like that don't go
after that. No, when you said let's watch a Scottish player to see if he does it over 2 seasons, let's not just go down there. And believe it or not, I've done a wee bit of scouting for a local team here. And what they'll do, they'll give you a team sheet and say, watch number 8. Yeah. And tell me what you think. So you'll sit there in the middle of winter or whatever, and you'll be sitting watching number 8, and you'll also be thinking, I hope I can make the bar before it shuts. And one of the guys I had to watch was what do you call him, David Platt, with Crew, and he went on to do quite well.
For younger listeners, that is another topical reference from Ralph.
Right, I was sitting there with Johnny Rodge at Port Vale. And the guy that was running the news agents round the corner, Johnny Kemp. And what do you think of him? I says, well, he gets about a bit, doesn't he? And that was it. That's what I said, gets about a bit. Because he did. And that was the style he operated. Now, I don't know how Celtic do it. I don't know if they'll just turn around to a guy in the crowd, which is what I was, and say, what do you think of him? To get an honest opinion. Which would be, he's not very tall, is he? The other thing I had to do with scouts was a guy that was working for me up in Chorley in Lancashire. He was a scout for Blackburn. And he would take a phone call now and again. And somebody would say, my mate's a great player. And the first 2 questions he would ask was, how tall is he and how fast is he? And I says to him, hey, I don't suppose you consider what you can do with a boy.
Well, that sums up the modern game, doesn't it?
We don't think about that at this stage. I said, well, when do you think about it?
So can I throw something into the mix there? I mean, thinking about this, where you've been talking about Ronnie Dahlia, obviously, and maybe his approach been a bit different, which we're still finding our feet with him, I think, to a large degree. We're talking about players and scouting and that, but there's no possibility that he might change things quite a lot and actually promote a lot of players for the youth team. He might give more boys a chance who maybe, like the Hibs and Hearts have done it for years now, and Dundee United have done it. Now, if our youth team's obviously been the best for many a long time, there must be a high chance now that he'll bring 1 or 2 of them through more rather than previous managers.
Do you think
that's a great point.
EddieToner, do you think that's possible, or do you think there's too much pressure on ourselves?
Yeah, I think we seen a wee bit of that evidence last night when he brought the young fella Tierney on. He make his debut in a fairly crucial game. And he wasn't feared. He wasn't. The boy in front of me was saying, "Oh, do you think Tierney will get a run out in the team?" And I says, "I can't see it at this stage in the season. There's too much at stake." And it just shows you what I know. About 5 minutes later, the boy was warming up and then getting stripped. So
he's first pass, Eddie.
Yeah.
He's first pass. They were laughing at Easter Road. He was far over.
But I think what it does show is that if a guy's impressing Ronnie, in training and and even maybe in the in the youth squad games and stuff like that, then he will give him a chance. That's how I was a wee bit disappointed to let the young boy Henderson go to Rosenborg, and I actually think that boy's got a real chance, and I would like to have seen him getting a wee run in the team between now and the end of the season. But
yeah,
I think you might be right. I think your point's well made. There might be opportunities here for boys now, and and how many times have we probably don't see as much of the development squad now as we used to, because the games are played all over the place at daft times, but
there's no Celtic TV anymore that does it. On the
aye, but we used to go and watch these guys and think, oh, that's a good boy, and that's a good boy, and let's see him, and then all of a sudden they just disappear, and you don't know where they've went to. But I think Dyla might feel he's got an opportunity to bring him on as well. Given all the rest of the teams in Scotland are doing that as well. So you're pitting like again like. So there might be opportunities there for some of your young boys. But
and take it maybe a step further. There's no real competition in Scotland. Aberdeen will come up this year, and Inverness might do it next year. So we do have time to develop players. I take what you're saying about the European thing being the main source of income, etc., with no TV money. But we do have time to sit back for a couple of years, still win the league, and build something for the future with people that want to be Celtic players. And that thing about the jersey not shrinking? I think you might just have Dyla taking that attitude towards it. And don't forget, I still think we'll end up with Odegaard next season because of what's happened at Real Madrid. And his dad being a big pal of Ronnie.
Is he not turned out to be a bit of an arse, Ralph? That young boy.
No,
he refuses to train with the kids because he's got a clause.
Wait now. He was told he was going to train with the first team.
No, it's a clause in his contract. He's got a clause in his contract.
No. What you've done is you've picked up on the reverse of the clause.
Oh, sorry, have I?
What?
Have you seen
the
contract?
It's a bit like. I've been following it very closely.
His name's Campbell Ogilvy, for God's sake. Of course he's seen the contract.
Is it after his contract you've been looking at Hook Evans?
That he'd get to train with the first team and do one day back with the reserves or the second team, whatever. What they've obviously felt is that just because we've got him now and nobody else can have him, he can drop back into the second team. And Zidane coaches their second team. What's it called? Castilla? Now, Zidane might be the player or the man to bring Odegaard up to the next level. But that's not what Odegaard was told. So therefore, he's going to have a wee bit of a, as we say in Stoke-on-Trent, a cob on. He's not happy because he's in Spain and at Real Madrid, and he'd much rather be back where it rains a lot. And his best pal, his mentor, is a guy called Ronnie Dyla, who's a friend of his dad's. He's got the money in the bank now. And I really think he'll be at Celtic next season.
I don't know.
What I want to do is to write it day in, day out, saying, look at what Martin's doing. I think that he's going to end up, and I think the rumour mill will have two players coming from Real Madrid to Celtic, correct? Which isn't bad over 20 years.
A lot of you seem to have this, to me anyway, this perception that every footballer just wants to play football and they're quite happy, and they'd be quite happy at Celtic because it's a nice wee family and it's a lovely atmosphere and you can win some medals, instead of the harsh practicalities of the modern footballer as just a mercenary. It's just John Stark from Scoop. They're in it to make as much money as they possibly can, as early as they can. Hence, Van Dijk will be away as soon as they can, that sort of thing. So I don't think there's any chance of any young guy coming from Real Madrid to play at Celtic Park, to play against your Hibs and your Ross Counties on a cold Wednesday night in the middle of winter, as they say. I don't think there's any chance of that.
Is it true you turned down the job of promoting Celtic at an international level?
I did. Peter asked me and I said, Peter, I'll do it for nothing, but he wasn't having it.
The thing is, what you need, there is, yes, of course, the financial aspect and the old myth about the short career, etc. Well, the short careers doesn't count anymore because of the wage they're on. In the old days, they were on like your 300, 400, 500 quid a week, even in England. These days, they're getting that as a kind of sign-on fee. They're getting a year's wage to sign on, then they're getting a big wage. It doesn't matter anymore. The world will turn soon, where players will want to play football, and agents won't be allowed the same, or won't be respected for their opinions when they say, listen, forget that Celtic. You can go to Manchester City and play against League Town and All Sage or Athletic. But you'll still be making 40 grand a week.
Well, but look at financial fair play, and this is, I'm looking to bring EddieToner in on this in respect to Mr. Lawwell's attitude over the next season or two in respect to speculating to accumulate. Financial fair play is basically this made the rich clubs even richer. It's not a case of bringing everything into fairness. It's just a case of allowing those who are so far out in front at the moment to stay so far out in front. So do I actually believe Celtic's business model is going to change to actually try and spend money, or is it going to be a case of we're going to continue to loan out 19-year-olds from Man City and try and pick up that bargain unproven striker?
I'm not sure there's any evidence that it is going to change. I mean, Lawwell's been consistent all along. That he argues that every penny comes in goes back out, and in players and in wages and stuff like that. And I don't think they're going to run up any debt. If I'm sitting here saying that Celtic are going to start spending money that they've no go at, and I think we're kidding myself on, even if it's something we would all love to see. Personally, I think we should take a chance. You have to remember when we brought in your Martin O'Neills and guys like they had a war chest, and they were able to build a team. But Strachan didn't.
Hector, could you pick up on that there?
I think there's a new. I think with Dyla coming in, it's just the unknown, I suppose, isn't it? It's a kind of last year he hit the ground running, and he was like a rabbit in the headlines to start with. Now he's got a year behind him. I'm pretty sure he'll have the players ready who he wants. Budget for him's not the biggest thing. He's not going to fight with the board over 5, 6, 7 million. So I'm cautiously optimistic with him. I just like his style. I like how his team plays. I think with the pre-season behind him and all the players know what's expected, I think we'll come out the traps flying, I think, the start of the season. And obviously it hinges on the draw as well. So I'd expect us to win the first 2 qualifiers. Depends who we get in the third one. But I'm expecting big things next season. And I do think, though, if we can get into the Champions League, with the pace that he's got, midfield to front, on the counter-attack, we could do surprisingly well away from home. I'm not saying win every game, I'm not stupid enough to do that based upon the teams we'll play against, but I just think how he's got them set up to hit the counter with that pace. Mackay, Stephen, Armstrong, Johansson, Forrest, there's bags of pace there in the counter. And I
think it's spot on there.
Ralph, should we bring back Samaras?
What we just need is that guy in the middle. No, because Samaras did what they're doing. Samaras is like Mackay, Stephen and Forrest. But with Samaras, we just had the one doing it. Now we've got 2. And we've got Johansson scooping about in the middle. We've got Brown and Beaton and Armstrong, any 2 from 3, that will support them. If we need to play away from home and need to be a little bit more solid, then it's Armstrong instead of Forrest. We just need that guy in the middle that's going to either...
Does that therefore start to relegate Chris Commons into that special person on your bench?
To be honest, I don't think you can play Johansson and Commons in the same team. And I know which one I'd rather have. And it's not Chris Commons.
Hector?
Commons is maybe an impact sub. Something that Forrest isn't, something that a few of them aren't. And yet we use them like that.
See, about half an hour ago we spoke about Celtic will play 61 games this season, right? So you can't go with a squad, as we all know, of 14 players. So Commons, for me, the big games away in Europe, clearly that's no for him against a better teams, right? He's just not got the physical ability as other players. But domestic games, Commons could easily play every game domestically, or as many as possible, and certainly at home in Europe. I've not got a problem with that. And Commons is wise enough to know that now. He's now 32, 33. He knows how Dyla wants to play. So I don't have a problem with that. You need a good squad of 16, 17, 18 players. And Commons will get regular football with Celtic.
Yep, fine with me.
Yeah.
EddieToner, you there?
Yeah, and he's the guy that.
I'm back in. Yeah.
Other people to. He'll build the base and win the league for you, so that other players can go on and take it to the next level, a level that he's a good impact player to bring on. If we've got a penalty late on in the game away from home, then I would make a substitution right away and bring Cummins on to take it. But it's like Dyla has to.
There's no ice hockey.
Have, like you said, a pool of 18 players. And
EddieToner is anybody. We're moved on to the centre halves, midfield up front. Is there anybody you're expecting to move on? Stokes, we expecting him to be there next year?
Well, we're not going to keep them all away. I don't. Stokes seems to have become a bit player. I think Commons will become that bit a bit player as well, just as you were saying. So, I mean, we probably do need to. If we're looking at bringing players in, then we're going to have to pick players out. I mean, because that's the model we work in. We're not going to start doubling or trebling the wage bill. And players will need to go after the wage bill, I think, before there's others come in. Not sure who it will be. Stokes is a possibility. But there are other players in the fringes there that, you would have to think that Barrickter's definitely away, Tonev's definitely away, Berget, and all these guys.
I watched.
He might have built on, but we're still paying his wages, unfortunately. So you would think all these guys are all going to go to free up wages.
That's a good point, Ed.
Must see a selling costs halfway line in the North Stand, about 4 rows up, right? And I've seen Barrickter early in the season. I've never seen nothing so fast, but I've also never seen nothing so made of glass. And he's 2 years now with the club and drawing a wage.
Well, that's what I was going
that's what we need to clear them out. People like him.
Players have got loan merit. You have Pookie and loan. You have. What do you call the big guy?
That's all spot Pookie, to be fair.
Baldy, isn't it?
Your Baldy due to come back. Big Icelandic boy, Holmberg, and you've got all these guys have all still to come back, and we're not with
that young Irish boy that Michael Duffy was it that joined. What happened to him? Joined the January. Did he just go straight into the development squad, or is he one for the
I think he's just the squad, isn't it? Development squad. Just the boy from Derry City that they brought in.
I'm hoping that's Tyler's way of doing things. Get the boy in. He's seen something that can be developed, and we'll bring it on. Take him to one side and say, right, son, this is what I need you to do. This is how I need you to do it, and you'll get your shot. Because I'll give Darryl that. He gives him a shot.
I've not got a problem with that, but I've got a problem. See if you're paying £200,000 or £100,000 for a young boy for whatever it may be. I've not got a problem with that, because you might find that 9 don't work out, but that one is successful.
As in, I know Ralph and maybe Eddie follow development squads just in case he'd started appearing there, or maybe he's still getting toned up. Because I know a lot of times you sign players for a different league and they've got different physiques and they've got different stamina that obviously needs to be worked on. So, and they go through different programs. It was just in case anyone knew what stage he was at the moment.
Have they seen him?
Oh, Eddie, you had a good point there, right? We've got all this dead wood that needs to be cleared out. Right, so you've got so much season book money comes in at the start of the season. We're talking about, we really should be trying to splash out and get this decent striker, preferably on the books rather than a loanee. But then Lawwell, and I'm not an advocate of Peter Lawwell, but he's sitting there going, wait a minute, I've got these 10 duffers who nobody's actually wanting to buy that I've got to try and get rid of somehow. I've got to basically finish up their contracts and pay them off, or else try and find somebody to take them on loan, whereby we're probably paying most of the money. It's not exactly an easy job, is it, considering we're not that much way.
No, it's not. And we're top heavy with him because we've been chasing a prolific goal scorer now for 2 years. And we've been taking a punt on your Baldies and your Pookies and all of these guys. And I think we need to stop doing that. We need to just try and find somebody. And if it does mean, for me, if it means going out and finding a striker and you need to spend, I don't know what you need to spend on him, then just spend it and get the deal done, And, when you add up all the money we've wasted in these 4 or 5 or 6 players that has came in and went out and loan, or, would have bought one decent striker, arguably, but
Of course you would. If you
They're-
take
they're-
Baldy
they're
and
not-
Pretty and all that at £2 million
Who was the boy in Holland again?
But Baldy,
Who was the boy in Holland we kept saying we could get for 5 or 6 million? Over the last.
Spain and done nothing.
Was it no pin
Um,
boxing? Was it no
aye.
pin boxing or something like that?
That's the guy
Boxing,
Finn
that was
Boxing,
it,
that's
aye.
right. He went to Spain, right, and I think he's went there. He might have scored 1 goal or 2 goals. He's not played a lot of games. But then again, the boy's shown for the previous 4 years in the Dutch League, which is better than the SPL, the Scottish League, he can do it. So if he's in a really poor season there, he's 22, 23, surely that's the type of player then we can try and get in a cut price deal. Does it not stand to reason?
Yeah.
I mean, we're probably going to get him now for $2.5 million compared to 6. So that's when you go and strike, get that player in.
Maybe the great Chris Boyd will be looking to step up a league.
Are you Mark Guidi? Mark Guidi, remember him?
He's still the best striker in Scotland, lest we forget.
Chris Boyd of Celtic. There's some words that never should sit together.
No, about Deji. I was going to say, what
Honestly,
about...
we need to be looking for somebody who can just score goals.
That's the way it is. Somebody who can just put that in a classified ad. Somebody who can just score goals. Maybe Billy's Boots will turn up, or Hot Shot Hamish. I'm looking for a game. Roy Race. Somebody who can just.
You've just got to believe there's another Henrik Larsson out there, you know.
Schultzen Juniors.
That's not clean.
Didn't
Of course
Schultzen
there
Juniors.
There is definitely somewhere in the English Championship or the English First Division or even in the Dutch First League or the Spanish Second League or the German Second League, there will be a player like that. The trouble is,
James, yeah, before we get, and this isn't a happy subject, but I think it's something well worth discussing. Considering this is the first podcast of the year we've had, we've missed quite a lot of events. Hector, you were at the Foodbank Collection the other week, Celtic Park.
Well, aye, there's a lot of people. One of the guys one of the key people organising it, we'll get him on here in a wee while. He's on Twitter a lot, guys, Celtic Research. Obviously, I won't say his name. Eddie, I'm sure you know him as well. He's a top guy. So he was a guy. There was a Kano. Did you go to the Kano Foundation thing, Eddie?
I did. I was there.
I was there as well. So, well, the guy Celtic Research was chatting to him. This has gone back maybe 4 or 5 weeks, and was talking about the centenary of Brother Wilfred passing away, and it just so happens I was sitting next to him. He was talking to me about it. He was saying, look, he had an idea about, what do you think about having a food bank collection? He was talking about it, and he obviously ran it past a lot of people. So he was given the nod by I think it was Tony Hamilton, who's the foundation guy, and him with a lot of support with a lot of people. But he facilitated and organised that, and to turn up, and Celtic means many things to many people. But those of us, I think, who know the history of the club, the real history, where it started, and everything else. It's hard. Politics is part of it, right? And that's just my view, and social justice and how you feel, and it means a hell of a lot to a lot of us. And to be there, to see that collection taking place, starting with a few bags, then to see £30,000 of food donated and £3,000 in cash, and hardly get a smidgen of publicity in the media in this country. But putting it to one side, let's keep it positive. It was just something else. And yet it shouldn't surprise me, because whenever our fans get involved in something like that, we do it ourselves, it's special. And him and people like him who did all that, it was outstanding, and it just makes you proud again at times, just when you think things are shit, to see your fans rally around again. But again, it's a downer they've got to even do it in the first place. But reality is they had to do it, but it was no magic, wrong choice. Do you know what I mean? It was just incredible to see that response, and it made you just feel that even more proud to be a fan of your club.
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean, I was. I mean, Jim had contacted me a few weeks ago about the same thing, and he was saying, what we're looking at doing this, and we with the, supporters groups, we lend our support to this, and and I said undoubtedly so. I mean, it is important that we remember, why we as a club were formed. It's quite sad in this day and age that, the levels of poverty that exist in Glasgow and probably further afield, and are still there. Maybe not to the extent that they were there when Wilfred formed the club, but they're there anyway, and they're real, and you know, there are people out there still going hungry, and it's appalling. But you know, the politics aside, you know, it is about, you know, it was really significant that we didn't let, you know, the 100th anniversary of Walfrid's passing go unnoticed. And you know, what more fitting way to deal with that? I mean, I went down to the park last week about 2:30 in the afternoon. And a couple of the volunteers were already there. You know, your man for Celtic Research, Davy McLaughlin, was down, and we, you know, from 2:30 onwards, you know, just watched a trickle of people initially coming in. You know, and I thought it was quite significant. It was a nice touch that one of the first people that came up and handed me a couple of bags of messages were Cathy Murdoch, Bobby Murdoch's wife. You know, and she says this, you know, on behalf of the Murdoch family, and you know, things like that, I think are really important because it keeps that whole sort of a dynasty going, if you like. You know, people who have played a significant part in our club over the years, and you know, Bobby sadly passed on, but his family are still supporting these type of initiatives, and for me it shows you, you know, that was a generation of players that really got the whole Celtic thing. But the fans then came. You know, there was one guy turned up with a whole carload of food, you know, sort of packed in, and I was saying, "Oh, what happened? Did you have a chip in your supporters bus and stuff like that?" And the guy says, "No, I just a wee bit fortunate." He says that, you know, life's been quite kind to me in the last couple of years, and I'm in a position where I've been out and spent a few bob, and I wouldn't like to have thought what this guy had spent, but you know, there been a few £100 worth of stuff that he emptied out his car, and you know, went away. You know, wasn't want any publicity for it or anything like that, but it was just a steady stream. There was a steady stream all day. You know, there was women coming up, there was kids coming up. I eventually stood with a bucket, you know, and there was wee kids coming up wanting to stick their pocket money in, and you know, granda's making sure the wains were thrown in to sort of like maybe educate them a wee bit about why it was important. And for me, it was just an absolutely incredible tribute to, you know, and to see them. You know, once the game started, we were there sorting out the stuff. The vans came in, you know. I mean, at one point there was about 12 vans all lined up in the Celtic way, and we were loading bags in. You know, transit vans. I don't know how the suspensions held out in them, to be honest. There was tons and tons of stuff went away. I eventually went into the game at half time because the plan was is that we were going to put out a call for volunteers to come out at the end to continue to help sort it, because we were just overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that came in. But so some of us went into the game at half time. A couple of folk had volunteered to stay out and you know, and help to, you know, just keep an eye on things. And when I put a call out on Twitter for volunteers, and came out at the end of the game, and there was nothing there, you know, and so where's it all gone? And what happened was is that some food banks that had got vans of stuff were phoning other local food banks who were able to then get a van in and load up, and what was left was basically taken into the park to be stored overnight, and the food banks were coming back the next day. And I'd arranged to get a lift up the road with Jeanette at the end of the game. She was saying, "I'll stay here now." She was helping to sort of stuff in the second half, and I phoned her and I says, "Oh, this stuff's away. Where are you?" And she says, "Oh, I'm in Drumchapel." I says, "Well, what are you doing out there?" You know. But she says, "Oh, well, there was a load of stuff left, and the Drumchapel people that didn't have enough more room in the rain transport, so she just loaded her car up. I went away after Drumchapel with it and helped to unload it. So at the time the game finished, she was just had arriving at Drumchapel, but it was just, you know, it was that type of thing where I'm never surprised about the generosity of Celtic support. I never am, because
I can
any
agree
time
with you,
there are
100%.
Yeah.
I was at not the one just gone, but the one before that, with the Green Brigade done it.
The Green Brigade, yeah.
I was stood by my seat, 411, with Jeanette and two guys out the Green Brigade.
Yeah.
And we brought our stuff up and we put it down, and I was talking to Jeanette, and as we were talking, people were just coming up and putting the bags down and walking away. And there were a couple of old guys would come up and say, "Here, do you take cash? Put that in." And it was just an on-good. I stayed, like you just said, I stayed till about half time. Just watching it and talking to people, and it was incredible. You know, like, times are tough, and there are people. And one of the boys in our club, he works for Leek Council, and his job is to allocate the vouchers to go to the food banks. We've got 11 in Stoke-on-Trent. I'm volunteered. I'm waiting for a reply for the one just up the road at the place called Blotton. And this says to me, you can come in and help us sort out the food and that, and put labels on it, and that's grand. The thing is, it's the 21st century. We shouldn't be doing that, but that's not a reason not to do it.
Absolutely.
You deal with the problem that's at hand, and then you move on and try to make sure it never happens again. And let's say times are tough. And what Gav was saying to me, that's your man that does the food bank thing. He says it's not about slouchers, it's not about scroungers, it's not about people that are claiming this and that benefit, it's not about liars and cheats and frauds. It's about guys that will get a job, and then they need to wait a full month before they get a wage. And these guys, right, you all do it. We're all what we would call heads of families, and maybe like our wives also work. And sometimes you'll lie awake at night thinking, oh, geez, what if? And at 4 o'clock in the morning, a problem becomes insurmountable. Now, can you imagine a fella that's been out of work for 3, maybe 4 months? He's got a job. His benefits are stopped. So he's thinking, how do I pay the rent, or how do I pay the mortgage? And he's thinking, do you know what, I need to ask for help. Now, he isn't going to get up the first day he thinks about asking for help. He's going to throw that about in his head, and he's going to worry, and he's going to be scared, and his pride will be hurt, because we're all working men at the end of the day. We all get married and have families because we think we can provide for them. But can you imagine, I worked at the CAB for 2 or 3 years a while back, and we were told, don't forget, if a guy comes to see you, or a woman comes to see you, I'm speaking metaphorically there with a guy-woman thing, it's because they have lain awake for nights to take that step.
No, absolutely.
And when they take that step, you need to catch them, because they're already falling. So if you take it to the food, can you imagine how it must feel to send your kids to bed without any tea, to send them to school without shoes on their feet that are, I lie awake sometimes worrying about other people, because for the grace of God, that could have been me. That could have been my boys.
I think you're spot on, and for that reason, it is important that we never forget why we were formed as a club, and it was a really fitting tribute to Wilfred, there's no doubt about it. But the thing that I thought was really significant about last Wednesday as well, and it's a thing that, and I never get tired of labouring this point, there's an opportunity. The idea comes from 1 or 2 people, and then he puts it out to all the various different groups or factions, if you like, the Celtic support. So what you had was, the supporters organisations and folk for, different websites, and, they all come together at that point. They're quite often, people have a different opinion about, what we should be doing, where Celtic should be going, and who we are and who we represent. But see, when it comes back to the basics, about what really underpins us as a football club, that's what pulls us all back together. And I keep saying it, that, if we can keep the Celtic support united and focused on that, then we're a formidable force, I think. And we proved that again last week. And, I have no doubt that, the great brother...
It was good to see how the press jumped on it, and how the press said, look at what these people are doing, look at how they're looking after each other, look at how they care about people. And, not one single byline, nothing.
I put that to one side, I said it earlier, I'm like you get drawn into it, but then I think you've just got to say, do you know what, does it matter? I think it doesn't matter, and we do what we do, and we do what we do as if it's something, it's just the right thing to do.
Is that not
listen, I hear Hibs fans are doing the same this weekend. They did a Foodbank Collection not long ago. Dundee did one a couple months ago. And other clubs are now doing it, which is great to see. But the significance of last Wednesday, as Eddie was talking about in great detail there, was just, it really is hard to put into words when you see what was going on.
It is. I mean, it was emphatised for me as well in the Friday afternoon, and the club hosted 3 separate sort of sittings or lunches where they had sort of members of the homeless community coming up to Celtic Park and and enjoyed a meal in the number 7 and stuff like that. And I went along that just to give a wee bit of support and just to have a sit and a talk to some of the guys that were coming in, and some of the service users that you like, the homeless networks and stuff like that. And it was a really humbling experience. I mean, I've lived in East End all my life, and I'm aware of the poverty there. I worked, in anti-poverty initiatives for a number of years. I wasn't always a taxi driver. I was a welfare rights officer in East End for a number of years, and and I knew about the issues, and I knew that people were up against it. But my God, to sit there last Friday and watch hundreds of guys coming in, guys who are effectively sleeping in the streets, coming in, enjoying their meal, and really good spirits, wanting to cry. One guy in particular was an absolute comedian, when he sat down with us, he was cracking jokes, he was asking us sports questions, and there, but for the grace of God, go any. So for that reason, it's not about whether the press publicise it or whether we get plaudits or pats the back. It's just about doing and you're right. It's just about doing the right thing and making sure
Eddie,
that people are not going hungry. And that's essentially why we were formed.
I was up in the city last weekend, and I was waiting for my train, so I nipped across to Roddie Do's and had a couple of beers, and I phoned Desi
again
on the way back out, because what happened was, what happened was I walked back out towards Central Station, and there was a boy sitting there with his plastic cup, and my first thing, the harsh sort of, I says, look at him, he's probably got somewhere to live, and then I went, what if he hasn't? And I went back and emptied all the wee bits of money out my pocket and put in his cup, and then he jumped up getting his BMW, and no, he didn't, but do you know what I mean? What if it's that kind of thing. You can have that harsh opinion that, we hear these stories and maybe he's doing this, and then you think to yourself, well, maybe he isn't.
See, Eddie, sorry, Rich, Desi, let you come in just a wee second. I know you've not really had a chance to talk, but just back to Eddie's point again about the formation of our club, and I think that's why it is vital that with events like that happen, that the fans drive, and we do, and it's always better when the fans do it, in my opinion, and know the club, because we are the club in my view, and we could talk all night about this, right? The Celtic fans are Celtic, and I'll never change for that. But the thing is, the historical nature of who we are, where we came from, the poverty behind it, feeding starving people, kids, mothers, you name it. That's why it's imperative that our club remains, and it's passed down from generation to generation. And that's why I think it always remains special. I know I can be a misty-eyed old romantic at times, but I think it's reality. I think we've got something that's almost unique, certainly unique in the British Isles, but almost unique in world football, about where we become from, and we keep those values going to support, and it never leaves us, because it's something else.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a chance years back that we could have become like part of the English League and part of this money coming in. And
I don't want any part of that. I don't want any part of that.
I wouldn't go to. Honestly, I wouldn't go to the game again if that happened. If a millionaire sheikh, Arab, whatever come in, it wouldn't be us. So therefore, it would be Celtic.
Sorry, Eddie,
I was enjoying that there. Now let's ask EddieToner a question. Eddie, the homeless dinners, did any of the guys or lasses there look like a striker to you?
Well, even if they don't, bring them
in. And then I was going to ask Hector, you work in IT. Do you think there's any chance we get the sales support to rally round and have a fundraiser so we can get decent Wi-Fi in East End for you and EddieToner for the next podcast?
Aye. No, it was Eddie's laptop. He must
it's
have
not a Peter Lawwell's old one. There's no number keys on it. That's what's the matter.
Aye. Well, you know Eddie and Peter are good pals, right? So he's always
besties they call each other. BFFs.
So it was you that was at that meeting with us then? Because he kept saying, what do you think, Ed? What do you think, Eddie?
He's Peter's personal taxi driver. Don't let him kid you.
I'm just turning the corner, Peter. Just turning the corner. Right, okay.
No one asked you that question. And then I thought to myself, no, wait, it couldn't be you. Because of what Jeanette said.
Okay, well, just a quick round up for this weekend's games. Do you think it's going to go our way, Ralph? Do you think Aberdeen are likely to slip up?
I don't know.
Are Inverness Celtic going to take it easy now?
To be honest, I'm hoping. Right, I'm hoping it does, so we can, because we're going up on Friday. I'm going to take a day off. There's a few. It's done. It's sorted. We'll get Friday off. We'll go to the game. We'll kind of wander back home early Saturday morning, and we don't have to go to work. Friday night's not as bad as Sunday when it comes to travelling. But I still don't think Friday night's for talking about football, Saturdays for going to the football, Sundays for talking about what happened at the football. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it should be. But I'll make an exception if we have a chance to win the league that night. And we should all meet up maybe in one of the... Well, I go to the bowling club now because it's cheaper and it's the only one that'll let me in. So...
Get the handshake.
Have you got a blazer with some badges on it?
I've got my...
Do any ever remember the two guys that still game, the guys that are still old, Victor, and what's Victor's... Jack and Victor, right. But do you remember when they started to do it in Tune the Fat and the bowling club sketches, and it was basically they two old guys in the bowling club, and it was let's say like Victor has been accused of diddling the funds. You see him talking to the camera. Don't worry, it'll be fine. It's been a misunderstanding. It'll all be fine. And next minute, Camden Bar opens the door and goes, Victor, we're ready for you now. If you'd like to come in, the committee's sitting there. And the door shuts, and it's like the voiceover documentary. It's hush words in the panel as a committee deliberate. Next minute, the door opens, and Victor McDade walks out shouting, "Arseholes! And that's his only one. Absolutely brilliant. I was thinking about the other day. EddieToner, before we finish up, would you rather win the title as early as possible, or now that the cup's away, would you rather the winning it at Pittodrie, or does that no matter?
I mean, I've got mixed views on that, to be honest. From a very selfish point of view, I love the away trips. I love going away with the sort of hardcore of the away fans and all that. It means we run a bus only to away games. As I say, we're based in the East End, so it means that all our guys are all together. But the Denison #1 Celtic supporters. But the big thing about Pittodrie, it's going to be an absolute nightmare with the ticket allocation. 2,000 tickets, just going to become a complete headache. So I think for that reason, I would love for Aberdeen to slip up this weekend and for us to have a full house at Parkhead on the Friday night and it is an opportunity then for the people who are travelling, although maybe we're further flung fans will be able to make it there on the Friday night, which is a bit sad as well. I mean, I just think if it should have been a disgrace.
That's a good way
to describe the season.
Guys in our club, father flung.
But probably a full house at Celtic Park means that the Celtic supporters can enjoy it much better. And I think Ronnie will really enjoy the title this season. And I think I've grown in Ronnie this so far. I'm still not quite. I'm not quite 100% with him yet. I'd like to see him play two up front and do wee things that we've spoke about. But I think he really gets us the club. I think one of the significant things about Ronnie, and I know I got cut off when we were talking about last week, was don't know if people noticed at the end of the game, and it's customary for the referees to be up the tunnel last one, saw the players are away and stuff like that. Ronnie, I think, took a conscious decision to keep all the players in the centre circle. Well, because I've seen him looking at it, the referee, and sort of pointing towards the tunnel. And more or less, you and your guys can go because we're not for leaving here now. And I thought that was him putting a marker. And I think, he probably learned a lot about us on Sunday and about what it means to be the manager of Celtic. So I think he would enjoy. I think he will enjoy winning at Celtic Park as well. So for that reason, I would probably plump for the Friday night and get it in the bag.
We've a fella that contributes to the diary regular, and he has done for years, pensioner boy, and he's seen the comparisons or the correlations between Steen and Dyler, and when he speaks, he talks a lot of sense. Now, Steen was never a Celtic man before he came to Celtic, and going back before he was a manager, but he died a Celtic man, probably one of the greatest Celtic men. I know it's maybe a wee bit premature to say this about Dyler, but if he's got the bug, if he's become one of us, if you like, then we could have a hell of a manager on our hands. You'll note that the views of the author are subject to change within about 15 minutes.
Yeah, they do say there's none so devout as the converted, Ralph. I remember you 6 months ago shouting, "Get him out, get him out now."
Absolutely. Do you know what? I'm going to sit down. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to sit down, and at the end of the season, I'm going to read the diary from cover to cover through the archives, because at the end of it, I'm sure I'm going to say that wasn't me.
Right, Daisy, prediction
Hector, this is a quick question for you. What's more sweeter, the thought of winning the title at Pittodrie, or the thought of Derek McInnes's Aberdeen having to give Celtic, the champions, the guard of honour as they run onto the Pittodrie pitch?
that's like choosing whether you'll sleep with Kim Kardashian or somebody else that's dead good looking.
Aberdeen don't.
Sorry, Hector. That was the only topical reference from Ralph for the kids. Kim Kardashian. Well done, Ralph. You get one in within 2 hours and 24 minutes.
Hey, and I tell you what, she will win this seat for Liverpool.
Sorry, Hector. Back to you. Sorry.
Right. Prediction time, right? We will go to Tannadice and Gub United on Sunday, right? I reckon we'll win by at least 3 goals and we'll play really well on Sunday. I'm also going to predict Inverness will beat Aberdeen on Saturday 2-1. Next Friday night, 60,000, Celtic Park, win the league against Dundee. There'll be panic in the streets of Glasgow as Stephen House shits himself for a weekend party and a bank holiday weekend. Get it up, yeah!
Nice. Well, I've got an 80s party next Friday, so I'm hoping it's not next Friday. I've got an 80s gig next week.
Nearly off. Can I come?
Aye.
Is that what you were talking about?
Aye, we've got an 80s gig next week. And the old Pollock Club, the new Pollock Club, so we've got to go to that.
So
the party should start about 1. The gig doesn't finish till 1, so I shouldn't get back to about 2. So you know what about getting
right,
is.
So you were.
And that is the 4th topical reference of the night from Ralph. Adam and fellow.
Listen, I remember Daisy for for St Mary's, right? I forget Adam and George Michael.
It was MacDonald to you of Dex's Midnight Runners.
Hey, I'll tell you, we still 100 years ago.
Oh no!
Well, you've got 2 minutes.
Like, mind you,
I've just upped a bottle of Old 10, so carry on.
This is getting longer than Tom Boyd's podcast.
Right, so
Tom Boyd's wife barred him for the phone for 3 months after their podcast.
I used to buy my clothes in Mega Store, right? And mind Adamant was a big man.
No.
Still an embarrassing photograph of me with a Cavalier jacket and the white paint across the road and the wee towels in my hair when I used to have hair. Stunning there. You know, like I do the yoga now. It's very similar to the lunge where you put your arms up and stand there for about 20 minutes. And I had a terrible...
Don't do that.
It does.
I can't bother.
It phones me during it.
Yeah, mate. Look, I'm 50 years old and now I can walk down the street without getting out of breath, which is a major achievement for me. No, seriously.
Even Jeanette switched on for me. She's just talked away, but it kept cutting out and I don't know what went wrong, so...
Oh, by the way, one question for Eddie. Sorry, I jokingly put out a question for the Celtic fans chief earlier, right? We got a laugh with Eddie here, right? But there was one I put out and one guy come back and Eddie, you did respond, you were laughing at it, right? Let me dig it out. So the question was, here we go. Right, so I put it out, the question was, Etims podcast night, special guest fans chief Eddie Toner. Any questions for Eddie tonight, please send them our way. One comes to Pat Monkey Man. Eddie. Ask Eddie, Does he still think about the magic elastic band? Right, Eddie, what's all this about?
I'm not sure if I should. Pat, the Monkey Man, very good friend of yours. He's a member of the Nave Podrick Celtic Supporters Club in Dublin, and he sees himself as a wee bit an entertainer in the pub, and he does magic tricks with elastic bands.
Is that not an old male stripper trick, Eddie?
I'll say no more, but I'm sure.
Ask Jeanette.
Might be listening.
Jeanette's sitting next to you, and she's listening to this.
Pat, funnily enough, Pat for years used to telling me, do you write that Etims-with? And I was like, no, I don't. I'm pretty sure you do. And you're this guy and you're that guy. And I said, no, I don't. And he said, next time you're writing an article, drop this word in or drop that word in. And, you know, there have been things like drop in elastic band for the article. And I tried to convince him for years. I never ever wrote any articles on any of these websites. But I never ever believed me.
Tomorrow.
But
Pat comes over regular. He comes over regular for the games with the boys for Dublin, you know, and he's a funny guy, and he likes doing tricks. That's about as much as I'm prepared to say.
He's a laptop. Maybe we can get him on.
Sorry,
Eddie, to move south, the amount of people that travel so many miles to go to the game, and it's a fantastic. You know, you'll sit there the day before thinking, "Oh bloody hell, it's 250 mile. It's on the telly." But see, once you get in the bus in the morning, and I imagine it's the same for the boys for Dublin, for the north, for anywhere. It's a fantastic day out because you're with like-minded people, just having a great time. You're going to the game, you're coming home, and there's nobody that doesn't do it will ever understand it. So I've travelled with the same guys for 15 years, and it's magic. You don't even see each other in between time, except for the club meetings, where we just plan the trips, and that never works out either, because you'll get guys dropping out, you'll get guys saying, right, I'm coming, and that's that. Moving away and going to the games is better than living up there and going to the games, because it becomes an event, it becomes something you look forward to. That's
it's a bit large. Away games for me are much better than the home games. No doubt about it.
We did the away games. What happened was, if you go to a home game with a club, it's 25 quid. We've kept it at that for years because it covers the petrol and that's that. Away games, if you go up in the Tarrier carrier, we just split the petrol. So you end up with away games costing like 12 quid between 7 years. And so what happened then was people wanted to go to the away games instead of the home games. Even though they were still going to the home games, it became a nightmare. So we just decided not to bother with any of them, and Sky TV do a fantastic programme with Pat Nevin telling us what really happened.
Daisy, can I ask Eddie one final question? Just one fight. And Eddie, sorry, I just for pure chance dug this one out, right? And I've got to ask you, this is the beauty of Twitter and social media, because when I put the question earlier about Eton's podcast with special guest, inverted commas, fans chief, EddieToner, even put a smiley after it, right? So most folk knew it was a laugh and a carry on. But this is the beauty of social media. One guy's come back with a serious, one guy's come back with a serious question, Eddie, right? And I'm going to put it to you, right? So EddieToner, fans chief, this is from a guy called Boss Hogg, right? Why don't you release statements protecting the club from slander from Rangers first and others who will seek to tarnish Celtic? I love that.
Carry on. What's your reply? Right to reply.
I'm away. Tell him I'm away to get a typewriter out. I'm on it as we speak. I think I've got an old $1.80 typewriter under the stairs somewhere.
Down with this sort of thing. This leaves for me to say thanks very much to Ralph Mouth. Thanks very much to Hector Bandido. And most of all, thanks very much to EddieToner for bearing with his very dodgy laptop and joining us this evening. Thank you, Eddie.
That's a pleasure. And
why don't we? We never got to touch on my biggest fear for this season, which is Jim Murphy's new job could be as the next chairman of Celtic. But we can discuss that in the election special, I think, Hector. Okay, so Eddie, we'll send you an invite for that, and you're more than welcome to decline if you fancy or join us. Excellent. Thanks very much, folks.
Thanks very much.
And good night.
Now, baby, we used to have something special. But lately you've been ignoring all the rules. Now you think that I don't know what you're doing. You've been running around and making me a fool. Stop cheating on me. It ain't that hard to do. Stop cheating on me, or I'll start cheating on you. Now don't think I won't sink down to your level. I'm sure somewhere there's someone I can hold. I can make my own deal with the devil, and then you'll find out that hell can sure be cold. Stop cheating on me. It ain't that hard to do. Stop cheating on me, or I'll start cheating on you. Stop cheating on me. It ain't that hard to do. Stop cheating on me, or I'll start cheating on you.
That's one way to get even, yeah?